Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back today with a little bit different video on editing your photos. Now, I normally do card making photos and that type of editing. However, I had some flowers sitting around, I took some pictures, and I thought I would share with you really quick ways to edit these out and also some really fun things you can do to your photos to brighten them up for your blog or for galleries or anything like that and really make them stand out. So I'm starting off with this photo that I took here, and the first thing you want to do is crop it. Now I'm working in Photoshop Elements, however there are all different types of free programs online that you can find, and also you can do picture editing on your phone with free apps. So by all means, this is not the only way to do it. The first thing I do though is I go in and I brighten up my lighting, and I also really up the contrast in my photo. Then I go into the saturation and I really pull out those colors and really darken them and deepen them. Now, if you have any weird hues or color casts on your photo, you can also fix that within the hue. I really didn't have any on this photo. However, if your picture has a little bit of an orange tinge, you can fix that in there. Now, one thing that I love about Photoshop Elements is you can go in, you can mess with your shadows and highlights, and also within your midtones, which you can see as I'm changing these on my screen, how the picture changes with them. And I love that you get that preview also with this program. Now I'm just going to fix those really quick within my picture, and then I'm going to go in and I am going to do some haze removal. Now I don't do this on all my pictures, however if you're in a really sunny place, a lot of times you get that haze with your pictures. So I'm going in and I am removing that. Now you can go in, you can change the sensitivity, you can also change how much you're reducing the haze. Sometimes your picture can get a little weird if you do too much. So you've got that before and after button that you can go in and you can see how it's going to look after you change this. There you can see with that haze reduction, I really pull out some of that sharpness and some of those really fine details in the photo. Now I want to go in and adjust the sharpness. Again, I don't do this with every picture, but for really sunny pictures, you might need to do this. Now you can see if I up that sharpness, what it does to the photo, and I just like to show you that just so you can see what exactly the sharpness is doing in your photo. So I'm going to go in and adjust that to the right amount for this picture, and I don't have any guide that I really use. I just do it by what looks good to me. So that just, if you've got a photo background or you're a photographer, you probably know exactly what you're doing. I just do it by eye and what looks good to me. So now in some of the pictures you've probably seen how people put just their photo in the forefront and then they've got a blurry background. Now I do that with a Gaussian blur. So what I have to do is I go in, I duplicate my background layer, and then I put a Gaussian blur on that top layer. Now that puts the whole blur over the photo. So I need to go in with my eraser tool and I'm just going to erase that blur on the part of the photo that I want in focus. So it's going to erase that blur over my flower, and then I'll just go ahead and zoom back out, and you can see the background of my photo is completely blurred out and I've got that flower in the forefront. Now I can go ahead and flatten that image. And if I want to change it to black and white, I like to go into my enhance and convert it to black and white. This gives me all these options. I can do the infrared effect. I can make it look more like a newspaper. You've got all these different settings. And then you've also got your intensity off to the right, where you can adjust your reds, your greens, your blues, and also your contrast. So again, it's just more about finding what you like and making it work for you. Now another reason I love to use Photoshop Elements, I've got all these filters, effects, and styles on my right hand side that I can add to my picture. Now these are just fun, and a lot of times I don't even use these unless I'm doing like family photos and I want to do where I just pull out my reds or I just pull out my blues in the photo, then I'll use these. You can also add really fun things, like here I just want to pull out the greens, so it's going to make my reds black and white. Or if I just want to pull out my reds, I've just got that flower and my greens are turned to black and white. So it's really fun to mess around with these, and especially if you're on a design team and you need to do sneak peeks or anything like that, and you don't want all of that color shown, you can use these in there, and that really helps out as well. Now these are just some fun ones. I can also make this look like oil paintings, watercolors, and also canvas. You can do old photo paper, just a lot of different fun things with this program that aren't necessarily great for card making photos, but for fun photos, they're a blast to work with. Now here's a before and after of just how I normally do my photos, which is the brightness, the saturation, and my contrast. And that really helps out so much. And again, this isn't a major difference. However, it just really kind of brings your photo more to life. It doesn't look so dull and boring. It really just makes it pop in your face. Now for my next photo, I'm going to go ahead and just use this rose flower that I took a picture of. Now the first thing again I want to do is crop this out. So I'm using my crop tool. You've got your restrictions in the bottom left hand corner that you can choose a size. So for my videos on YouTube, I make them all a size 16:9, or that's my ratio that I use. So it fills up the entire screen and I don't have any black around them. So again, that's going to be personal preference. Just make sure you crop them to look nice. Now again, I'm going to go in, I do my brightness, my contrast, my saturation, and I mess around with those. And then I'm going to go in with this one just because these were taken on a very sunny day in front of a window. I've got that haze on there, and I also need to go ahead and adjust the sharpness to really bring out all those different petals and all those types of things. So those aren't necessarily something I use all the time, but when it calls for it, I know that this program has it and I can use it. So I'm going in and I am fixing the highlights and those types of things right now. Just because this is such a detailed picture, I do need to go in and fix those. And another thing is, if you're not happy with the way it comes out the first time, you've always got that undo button in the bottom left hand corner. So you can go back, you can revert it back to its original state. This isn't permanent, it's just a picture. You can change it up as many times as you want. So for this particular picture, I went ahead and just played around with some of the settings and the effects and the filters and all that kinds of thing, just to show you a little bit more of what this program can really do. So again, you can change this to where it just has color on the outside of the photo, or it just has a color inside of the photo. You've also got these great filters where it will put like a summer glow on there. You can add snow to a picture if you wanted to with this program. You can add more of a winter look, all those types of things that this is just so much fun to play around with. Here are some of those effects I was talking about earlier. You can do more of a vintage look, a sepia tone photo. You can add a vignette around this. Is that how you say that word? Where you put the black around the photo. Here's that old paper effect. And these are more of your vintage type of effects. There is that vignette that you can put around there. And then I'll go back over to the filters and just show you a few more you can put on there. Or excuse me, the styles you can put on there. Now for these, you can add bevels, and this is great. The styles I use a lot for my text. So I can put my bevels on my text, I can put drop shadows on my text, different things like that. You can also find where you can change the tone of your photo, which is kind of like your hue almost. And then also, any type of style, effect, or filter you put on this photo, you can go back to that layer in your layers tab on the bottom and you can change the opacity of this. So if I wanted to put a little bit of a vignette on there, but it's too dark on the photo, I can go into that opacity layer and I can change it to any type of percentage I want. So if I want it a little bit lighter, I can go lower in that opacity, and it's going to widen up also. So you get more control over it this way. Now again, I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to keep playing with all those settings. So I can go back in and I can change my brightness, my contrast, all that stuff as many times as I want to. And finally, here's the finished product, and you can see how much better this photo looks once I have worked with it in this program. Now here is a fun photo that I did. I changed this to more of a vintage feel after I played around with the regular settings. I also added a little bit of a line around it and some text with a drop shadow. This is just a regular photo that I played around with the settings on, and here's another one as well where I really went in and I wanted to pull out all those little leaves that were on those branches. I wanted to really highlight those. Now for this one, I wanted to highlight the center of that, so that's where I made my focus. And for this one, so this one required a little bit more work. I had to add another layer, change that layer to black and white, and then I just erased that layer right over that red flower. So all that color that is in this photo is the red. The greens, everything else, that background is black and white, so that red truly pops in your face. Now for my next photo, I played around with just the brightness and the saturation and the contrast on this one and really highlighted that inner green color. And then my next one, I added a canvas watercolor effect, and I actually want to print this one out and put it on my wall as like a painting that I actually did, but it's just a photo. So that's my little cheat of getting away with actually making artwork, but it's just a photo that I've changed up in Photoshop, and I've made it look more like a piece of watercolor artwork that I've created. Now if you don't have a program like this, these are all photos that I've edited on my phone. This one is the same as that rose as before. I just edited on my phone. This is also from my phone in the free Photoshop Elements app. And then this also, I've just added a few different filters to it. This one I also went for more of a vintage look, and I just played around with the brightness and contrast until I was happy with it. And this final one again was with my phone as well. Now I do have the Photoshop Elements link over on my blog, and that is from Amazon. It is a digital download, so you can download it straight from their website onto your computer. I will also leave a few links to some free programs that you might want to use as well. However, just remember they're not going to be as powerful as this program that I use. And also I will leave before and afters of all the pictures that I have done and edited on this program on my blog as well. That link will be in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting.